Um, all right. Do I have your permission to record this podcast, Shubham?
Yes, sir, you have my consent.
All right. शुरू करते हैं. So, welcome everyone to episode 6 of the Uncharted podcast, and I'm very excited. I'm sorry it's hard for me to be formal with you, and it's been a long time since I've tried to have you on this podcast. So, to the audience, we are having a guest, which is who is having a very interesting story to share. He is living the life which a lot of people, including myself, fancy. And I would like to title it His Journey from Jaipur to Japan. It's very catchy. And to tell audience a few things about you, I know you from Razorpay. So he's ex Razorpay ex co-employee, and ours is a very not so common type of relation between PM and a developer, probably because he was not my PM. So from the day I've known him, I guess we joined company on the same day, and we saw each other on the onboarding call. And I like this person. He's very articulate and is very kind, curious and kind of person. Very respectful, disciplined, and has a lot of gyan and knowledge to be talked about on any topic, as a good PM should have. So already very excited to have him here. And now I would have loved to give you the stage to introduce a bit about yourself to our audience, about your life, the kind of places you come from, and what kind of person you are.
All right. Thank you so much, Abhinav, for those kind words. I mean, wow, I never imagined of course, we haven't worked together so much. So maybe that's again another reason why a developer is being so kind towards a PM. So, but to start with, so essentially, yes, we met on our resume journey. But I started my career. I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, right? And my again, it was in NIT Jaipur, so my hometown. I come from Jaipur, or born and brought up in Jaipur. Entire schooling, college, everything had been there. So my first experience outside Jaipur was with my first job itself. That was in Delhi, Gurgaon, and I mean because a lot of people would not know Faridabad, which is a place in Haryana. So that was where my office was. A very small town. Not everybody knows. So that was my first corporate experience, and in fact, my first, I would say, like a proper MNC experience. And because after that, after finishing 2 years there, I wanted to get into the booming startup ecosystem and all those things. So from there, I've always been working in startups, mid-size, big size, small, like every flavor I have taken so far. And entire journey has been in India. And last in January 2023 was the one which my life took a turning point. A big event happened, and that was where I landed up in Japan with my current job of all those details which I have shared so far. So yes, and I'm up into product management. That's something that I really like doing. Gives me an idea about different industries, and gives me a lot to explore my strengths as well. So it's like I found my calling, what as the people say, into product management.
Nice. So yeah, let's go step by step into unfolding the story. Let's talk about your academic journey, how you decided for your bachelor's schooling as well, when you were preparing, and what vision you had in mind, what you wanted to study and pursue.
Honestly, I mean, if you look at it, back then I was just another high school boy, right? Getting good grades in school and being all into some of the extracurriculars. So nothing planned in terms of the bachelor's degree, but yes, somewhere I always fascinated that I would want to become. First, it was like a computer software engineer. Then I was fascinated with space, so I was like, I would become some space engineer. I mean, thinking back then as a stupid fellow that everything would be so easy, and wanted to get into all the nanotech. So all those kind of things fascinated me, and because of it I was sure that I would have to take science and start giving preparing for the colleges. Was not very sure which colleges offers what kind of thing. That was not like, compared to today, as much guidance was not available back then, because this I'm talking about like 2008 or 9. So it's 15 years back, right? So back then, that was it. So once you, the idea was that okay, qualify for the exams, give the JEE, AIEEE, and everything. So depending on your rank, you select the stream of your choice. And of course, even in the streams, not much information.
Okay.
But with my brief interaction with coding in my optional subject in school, I realized, boss, this is something I cannot do. I cannot frame all these loops and codes and those patterns starting with. Didn't know that coding is much more than that.
Yeah.
But I was like, so drop the plans and the dreams of becoming a computer software engineer or an IT engineer.
Mhm.
And I got into college into 2009. So previous year was a recession year. So everybody, if you talk, people were like, oh, computer science, the most people were hit with that kind of a thing. So again, it was the air and the talks among that, oh no, the core branches are the thing. People should go for the evergreen branches, and that's how I landed up in mechanical engineering.
Nice, nice. And then, like, how were your 4 years there? Are you enjoying it? How were you, like, were you doing good in the grades, extracurricular activities? So, how did it go?
So honestly, just like every other person, so most of the people have an amazing college life. I also had, and in terms of grades, well, it
सबकी
was
नहीं
good.
होती लक्ष्मण. Just kidding. Sorry. Yeah.
No, no, no. I had one goal when I entered the college that, dude, I just need to maintain a decent CPI so
Mhm.
that at the time of placements, I can say no to sitting into a company, but the company should not be saying no to me as an eligibility criteria. That's it. So maintain a CG. That's like the minimum of it. Bear above it. I maintained good grades, so that was good. Happened to be. But one of the best things that happened during my curriculum was the courses that was coming along as part of the mechanical engineering. Right. So there were a lot of non-mechanical courses as well, which are basically taught into MBA.
Mhm.
That's where I started realizing what kind of things I actually like. Basically, I like the business side of things. I like the product design. I like talking to people. I like learning about how things are built, not in terms of the coding or the research and design, but like actually solving the problems of day-to-day aspects, right?
Mhm.
So I had those all those courses into giving me a flavor of marketing, finance, and business organization, and product design and development. That's where I realized, boss, if I get into a mechanical engineering job, I would be a very pathetic engineer. I will be miserable for life. This is somewhere I have to be in. So that's where I realized that non mechanical or non core
Mhm.
things is something that I want to pursue in life. No plans how to reach there. There was no path forward.
Okay.
And in terms of extracurriculars, that was another thing because I feel engineering gives one of the platforms for everyone to explore what all they like or what all they don't like,
Yeah.
because you have so many options to do, like based in your extracurriculars, whether you want to play sports, whether you want to do organized fest, whether you want to go get into dancing, music, everything, and nobody's gonna judge you about it, right? You can just explore anything from everything.
Yeah.
So that way I got into those kind of things. With organizing fest, I learned that I'm good with people dealing as well. I never thought that I could do that, but I realized that.
I'm sure everybody around you knew already that you are.
I don't know. So yeah, back then I didn't. So that was like self-awareness was not there. I was coming off my age, as they say.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much about it. I played sports. I learned that, oh, I love table tennis. Of course, I loved it in school as well. But when I played with better players, like national level players, and then I realized, oh wow, these kind of skills are also there. And even when losing against them, I never felt bad because I enjoyed the game,
Yeah. And
right?
you're growing
I
new.
developed yeah, I developed new ways to burn money as well in in terms of learning. Basically, it was like a learning that came like when I started playing snooker in college. That was a new game, new altogether different thing. So yeah, it gives you a lot of flavors to college life, and I'm happy about it. It gives you a perspective to think on yourself.
So you've been already always been a shocking person who wanted to explore a lot of things and not thinking about spending time or money in whatever you're enjoying. So that's nice.
Yes, Yes. So my rule of life had been that you should try and explore everything that's not fatal to your.
To you, people around you.
I
Right.
mean, everything that doesn't kill you, you should give it a shot.
Yeah.
Then only you'll realize whether you like it or not.
Yeah, true. I relate with you on this part. Okay. And then, yeah, college life went past, and then it's the time for placements, internships. So, how did that go?
So honestly, in my college back then, most of the organizations that were coming, and I mean, it was the rule of the thing that they will be core companies, right? So even if Amazons were coming, Amazons or Flipkarts of the world were coming, they wouldn't hire you for business analyst profiles or anything. They would hire you for the development profiles, and only the people of the computer science or electronics or the coding background, they will be able to sit in it, not people like us. So I took of course a job in one of the core industries, which were for me in mechanical, that was JCB India, right? And it was, for people who don't know, it's into earth moving construction equipments and globally known, right? The yellow machines, that's the core
Everyone
trademark
knows
for.
the meme now, JCB ki khudai, so people know.
Yes, absolutely. So that is the case. I got into there, and again, because I was not into too much of the technical aspects, I never opted, like, because they, after a rigorous training of, I think, maybe 6 months or something, where they make you go through entire departments, and where you can see which departments do what, learn about it, and maybe then you can choose your department you want to be in. I mean, it's just a preference of the choice.
Mhm.
So I never filled any of the technical aspects like the R&D. I did not fill in. I did not fill in production lines or anything. I opted for sales
Oh,
because
nice.
I thought, yeah, I opted for sales. I started with an on-ground sales, and in terms of the sales, that's where I first realized that this is fancy because, oh, because I had spoken with a lot of people, the sales staff, my seniors there. They were like, yeah, you get a car, you have to travel to the other place, and then you have to discuss with the customer, or maybe the sales you have to do through dealerships, you have to push them, and you get to travel a lot. And of course the sales off sites used to happen mostly outside India, in some of the countries, sometimes Sri Lanka or something like that.
Okay.
So it was all like, because with love for, like, oh wow, wow, I want to travel and go around, I was like, okay, let's go for sales. But again, that's where you get the reality check, that what you fancy, what you see, is not exactly the whole story. There's a lot of background to it, right? So from the first day itself, you don't get to have a car and go around, and all that thing doesn't happen. You have to get into the scorching heat of Delhi, outside to the dealers, and speak to the customers on the ground, which are like not very articulative in their conversations, and even you may not even able to speak their language or understand their accent, and yet you are trying to make a sale to them. And at times they are very, very angry as well because of the customer service. They,
Uh,
they will lash out and all. So
mm,
those kind of reality check happens, that okay, it's not all hunky dory. And even at times when you feel that okay, I don't have any work, I can maybe do something of my own in the office and all, because I finished my work or something like that. You are having a leisure day or like something. People will notice you even if they don't know you.
oh,
So,
okay.
so that's, it's not exactly like the job of in how it works like in IT or consulting, and okay, I'm done with the day, I can chill around for a while, and you can chill, that's for sure. But if you do something else for your growth perspective and all, then people will notice that, and you will come in the eyes of the people. It happens, right? So
Right.
because it's those work hours, you're not supposed to do that. Second thing, again, I've coming from like a college, a straight college graduate. You're being told, these are the assignments you have to submit by this deadline and this and that. In corporate life, it was a reality check that you have to take initiatives by yourselves to stand out. You don't know if somebody is not coming to you, then you go ask that, okay, I am free, make me occupied, give me something, I've done this, make me do things. That's what appreciated.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are some learnings that I got from that, and the discipline as well, because again, with all the people that you come,
Mm.
I thought that my first job would be like I'll wake up at 8 a.m., then go for like a workout or something, then come back, there will be breakfast ready, I'll go to the office by 11 and all. Cut to the reality. My office wanted me to be in office at 8 a.m. It was like 8 a.m. you have to swipe in. If you are late by 15 minutes, it will be a half day for you, right?
Okay.
And I stayed, of course, it was a shuttle thing that picked you up and all. So I needed to be at my stop because that was a choice that I made. I could have stayed closer to the place, but it was not happening,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
I decided to stay in Gurgaon, which
Mhm.
was like an hour away from my office. So the shuttle would come and pick me up at 6:45 a.m. And I used to wake up at 5 a.m. to get to the stop at 6:45 a.m. and so that I can reach office at 8 a.m. So that was like complete 180 opposite to what I thought that my work life would be and what is turning out to be. So yeah,
Uh,
it taught me a lot of discipline. And it's not like that people say that you just study and everything will be done. No, not like that. There is a lot to life than more than the studies. Step outside your city, step outside your comfort zone, and that's when you'll start finding the things.
yeah. Nice. I didn't know that it was that dense of an experience, that you have to do so much, get up early in the morning, and then you cannot even have your leisure time after you're done. Okay. And how long were you working in this position in this company?
I was there for 2 years, but again, I did not opt for, like I said, I started in sales, but eventually I realized that this kind of a sales is not what I expected. This is not something, and the actual sales which I was fancying comes after a lot of experience, 5, 10 years of experience.
Okay.
That kind of a thing where you can actually, delegate things, instruct people. That's how it's done, because you don't know the ground reality. You need to know the understand the ground reality. So then there I realized that, okay, I need to switch the profile. And there was an opening in one of the departments, which was called product support. I moved into there, and there, that was my first, I would say, indirect experience of product management, right? Because I was coordinating with different stakeholders. We were developing an IT kind of a machine monitoring system where you can trace where your machines are and everything through a web portal and all.
Okay.
So we were actually interacting with different stakeholders who were developing the portals and the technology behind it and all. So that's where I realized what kind of requirements, because I was speaking with people, what kind of situations there had been. Then I got the requirements, how to flesh them out, how to source them out. I was in the meeting, how those discussions are headed. That's where I realized that, okay, this is something more, again, the profile I want to be in. And that's where I started looking into, first my move was into business, to move into startups, because those were the ones who would be welcoming towards a person who does not come from a business background, wants to be in the business kind of a side of things, and also does not have coding knowledge or anything like that.
Okay. And then, like, how long did you work in this position before actually moving to the next company?
So it was again 1 year. So totally, my first experience was for 2 years. 1 year it was with sales and the training,
Mhm.
and the remaining 1 year was in this new profile. And that's where I finally decided that I want to part ways. I want to do something different.
So you were
Yeah.
actually moving very fast. You were not that kind of a person, like to compare with that frog you put in the water, which is raising degree by degree. You take decisions like this, that okay, now I know this, and then you will act upon it. That's nice.
I mean, sometimes it's nice. It's a double-edged sword for sure, because when you get too bored of things very quickly, or when you decide very quickly, then you are in a position when you have to think on at the drop of the hat as well in terms of what next. You cannot just sit around because especially in India, a lot of job gap is not considered good. Like it's something that's not. I'm not sure if it has changed now. People do take some gaps between jobs,
Mhm.
but back then, so you have to be thinking what next, what next.
Mhm. And then, like, how was the experience of finding the next opportunities after you decided to leave JCB?
Well, it was difficult for sure. It I wasn't getting directly into, so it took me a while, but I think I got it in around 2 months' time. Yes.
So you first actually resigned and then looked for a job, or you were parallelly, like you only resigned after you had the offer?
No, no, this one I because I was not that adventurous at that point in time. So
Okay.
So I took a job which was paying me well, and it was in Delhi, and that's where I put my resignation in. And then I had a conversation with my manager and everything. Then I told him about my plans, and it was well supported that okay, you are going into the right reasons. You can always come back here. And one of my managers back then actually gave me one of the quotes which I always remember even today. So he said that always love your work, never the company,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know when your company will stop loving you.
Yeah, yeah. Heard that.
So you need to find your calling, the work that you like. If you definitely enjoy that work, then nobody would. You will never feel it like that you're doing work or something. You'll be able to explore it and explore different dimensions in it as well.
Right. Yeah. And how was then the next experience? Which job did you take, and what kind of work did you do in the next step?
It was again a transition into the product management, not fully. So I was particularly managing a vertical. This new organization was into creating marketing solutions for Indian restaurants primarily
Mhm.
across different cities.
Okay.
So I was handling their payment systems. And in fact, that's a fun fact. That was the first time I actually had interacted with the Razorpay team.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. So I was handling the payments there, integrations for all the different new onboarding integrations on the websites, and I also handled a vertical called IVR. So all those things when you actually call a particular restaurant and you hear welcome to this and so and so. So all those things, how the system operated. So we were sourcing it from a third party and then putting it out for the customers so that they don't have to directly deal with all the hassle, right? So we were acting at that. So I was handling these two verticals, and I worked there for 1.5 years before I realized that okay, this is too much and this is getting again boring for me. I
Okay.
need to find something new. But payments was a domain that intrigued me a lot. I loved it. That was my first interaction. In fact, back then I had a word with I. We used to directly interact with Shashank for
Okay.
the conversations and even negotiations I had for Razorpay, the payment service, what the costing they could give us and everything.
Okay.
So all that we did, and 1.5 years, I realized that okay, I have learned everything what I could from this place. I don't this is there's nothing more that I can feel where I can relate to or learn. So that's where I thought that I would part ways. Now this was the point where I went actually adventurous.
Okay.
Resigned, and then I thought what will I do?
Ah, okay. Uh, I don't have that much of adventure and courage in me as now.
That was the point. I realized that okay, I'm young, I'm stupid, so let's do something adventurous. And I resigned, and then I started what figuring out actually, not looking for jobs because I was like I would start figuring out what I want to do.
Right.
And that was also the time I thought that maybe it's time I can actually I have experience as well that will give me. So maybe I should get a proper degree from business administration. Let's do an MBA.
Mhm.
So I prepared for that. But unfortunately, things did not work out. I mean, the places where I wanted to be in, they did not work out well. So then I realized that, okay, I'll continue with the job market.
Mhm.
Now, starting searching for exact profile like product management, because now it has been like 3 years or something, 3.5 years.
Mhm.
So the market has matured a bit. Product management was coming into play. People were expecting that people, it was more on the hands-on kind of a job. So if you had um the intellect, I would call it, not the exact word, but yeah, if you had the sense to deal with the product design and business, the tech, all those things, then
Mhm.
you will be hired. You don't need a courses or anything like that, or not such structured interviews and all which we see today, right?
Mhm.
So that was the case, and some of the time I spent in improving my skills, learning about what exactly a product manager would need to do. They need to be a little bit familiar with SQLs, right, to write the queries, to get the data, to do data analysis. So I worked on and learned some advanced Excel courses and wireframing courses, and took up some like problem statements, and then worked on myself that, okay, how those would be working out, how would this screen could be recreated as a user, what to think. All those things I worked on myself as well, in parallel. And that's where I landed up in my third organization after, I guess, 10 months time. Took
Okay.
a while. Yeah. I mean, for 4 or 5 months, I was dedicatedly preparing for MBA. But
Okay.
when that didn't work out, so I thought that, okay, now work on this. Let's do it. And that's where I landed up in my third profile, which I'm very, very thankful that that the founders and my hiring manager, both of us, we are actually still in touch. We always speak, meet, right? So they showed that confidence in me. And that was a journey which I started, and it worked for 4 years. That is the actually the longest stint that in my entire career that I have spent at any place.
Wait a while. You were in Razorpay for 4 years?
No, that was Razorpay before Razorpay.
Ah, okay. Which one is this?
It's called Punch.
Punch. Okay. And
Yes, it's now a subsidiary, or it was acquired by Partech, which is an NYSE listed firm.
oh, nice. Okay. And
Yeah.
what was this company doing? What was the work about?
Yes, so it was similar to my previous organization. So maybe that was another reason that the product management happened very seamlessly there.
Mhm.
So it was into creating again marketing solutions for restaurants, C stores, but now it was a global exposure for US, UK, New Zealand, and some countries in Middle East.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So that's where, in totality of my 5 years of those tenures with two companies, I explored this restaurant or hospitality industry, India and abroad. And that's where, like, that was my first stint where I was actually working with a organization based out of US, customer base US, product is in US, everything is in US. So that's where the customer mindset, how the people think outside, what kind of things they want, what kind of things they feel, what is their thought process, that started to giving me an insights about how the markets abroad work.
Okay. And is it too different from India? I mean, I guess it would be, but is there a like vast difference in how people behave, think about there?
That's for sure. I mean, in terms of customer mindset, are you asking, or in terms of the working professionals you're asking?
Customer mindset.
Customer mindset is quite different at times. I mean, because India is a developing nation and it's a price sensitive market, right?
Mhm.
And there, in terms of quality and customer service, in terms of those things, were very prominent. Like, a lot of customer complaints at times had been that, oh, my food, I'm paying this much, but it doesn't taste exactly the same that I tried 2 days ago. There's
Okay.
something. It is good. It's not stale. It's not anything, but it does not match that standard. So people were very curious about that. And and on those terms, even the restaurants would refund them to the hospitality, that kind of things they had, the customer mindset. But they were also high on offers. People there also loved offers, and um, because there were a lot of frauds also that used to happen because of the tech. People would, because our system was that you purchase, there will be a receipt. You scan the receipt into the app and you get points, right? A lot of people would just drop the receipts into the dumpster. They don't care about it. But there will be people who would pick those receipts,
Oh,
create
okay.
an account, scan all those receipts to earn the points. So we had to define the fraud rules and to ensure, because if somebody would, let's say, scan 100 receipts, because there will be multiple in the dump, right?
Yeah.
100 receipts in one day, that means even if with a 10 points average, 1,000 points, and that's a lot in US if you get it like free food for anyone.
Yeah.
So all those innovative ideas of fraud prevention, one has to think about that, oh, that kind of thing also happen in places like US. You never know. But
Mm. Yeah, interesting. And then like how are the skills which you upgraded on, like now you were here having exposure to the global market, in terms of particularly talking about skills, not just the mindset growth as a product manager. What kind of skills did you pick up in this uh, timeline of 4 years?
so first, one of the things was the pace, because we were in a very growing phase and we were onboarding customers like big restaurants, big chains, like Pizza Huts of the world and Domino's of the world, like
Mm.
Papa John's of the world. So those kind of the merchants, when we were onboarding, they required very quick development and a lot of requirements, which were like very different from our system. So in
Mm.
order to accommodate those, at times you have to come up with smart ways. Not every time, like for instance, let's say a client like this on boards and they say that I want this in 1.5 months' time. If you start going by that to deliver it in a standard way, it
Mm.
would take a quarter. But you cannot say that to them, right? Because you want them on board. That's their first primary requirement. So now you start realizing how you can deliver those things smartly. So that pace was very important,
Okay.
that I learned. And the commitments about what my customer teams and even um, actually interacting with the clients back in the States. So how they think, what are they coming from? That was a lot to handle in
Mm.
terms of their expectations, delivery managing with terms of the tech, because the development team sits in India. So there was a time gap as well. So I need to be very clear in terms of the requirements that I'm getting. Because otherwise, let's say if I have to deliver something in next 2 days, if I pick up a requirement in the evening today, because that's the morning in the States,
Mm.
and if I go to my development team the next day and they raise any of the questions which I'm not able to answer, right? I would again have to do another call and in the evening and all, to get the more clarity. So I would try to be as I get the requirements in as much clarity as possible, thinking 2 steps ahead, what could my developer would ask me as a follow-up questions to these.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very conducive to the kind of growth a great PM would need. So that's, yeah, good
You,
approach.
you would have to think from a little bit of 2 steps ahead, that what could, and also in terms of the tech enhancement, because the my tech would ask me a lot of questions, and I definitely don't come from a technical background like the computer science and all. So I had, that was the phase where I actually started, based on those questions in the early stages, I started realizing what kind of a system information a PM would need. Like, it's not just that, okay, this is needs to be done, this is how it is done, and this I will just convey. It's not as simple as that. It works with some requirements, but with the bigger requirements as you grow, there are a lot of ambiguities which you need to resolve, and you need to be able to answer, because the customers have also asked me. about the technical aspects. How much load would we have to share with you, and what kind of a data protection systems you have, all those kind of things. Because those, especially in US, data protection, and you would know as well in Europe, GDPR applies,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So you have to be very particular about what kind of data you would share and what kind of a protection systems you have and everything. So that way I realized that even if I don't know how entirely exactly that system would work, but I should know what exactly the tech is behind it, and that's enhanced my technical skills a lot from there.
Sounds great. So now I myself know a big part of your journey, which I never knew till now, and now we can actually move to the part where I have a bit of idea about what you were doing and how things went. So now we both joined Razorpay, and how was your journey from here?
It was amazing. I mean, honestly, back when I had first interacted with Razorpay team, and when I was handling payments for my second organization, with the growing boom, India was going super digital. So
Yeah.
payments was going to be a new industry that's going to be super evolved. And I was honestly very, very impressed by the product when I had first integrated Razorpay. And even when I worked with my devs about Razorpay, right, that we need to integrate this and all, they were super happy. They were like, wow, that's such an amazing kit that they have provided. That's the smoothest integration that I have come across
Nice.
ever. Right. So I was super impressed with the product. And of course, I've seen the journey. It was always on my radar. So Razorpay was one of the organizations that I really wanted to work with, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. So when it happened, it was like you can say that in the startup ecosystem, my wish came true, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it was like best of both worlds. It is a startup moving fast, but the culture was so rich and established. I myself loved working there as well.
Exactly. I mean, which organization on earth is meme friendly? Like you are delivering roadmap presentations, and if your presentation
Yeah.
does not have memes, it's considered boring. Like come up with good
Yeah.
memes to so come up with. So that was the first experience, and I definitely was amazed. So from the product, like professional standpoint as well, because I love that product in payments, and now I was going to work in enhancing it. And again, from the culture standpoint, amazing.
Yeah, true. Can't agree more. And then you were working there for 2 years, right? Almost two.
It was 1.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And in
And
fact, I had to, for Razorpay it has an interesting story. So when I was joining Razorpay, I had to say no to two organizations. I had two other offers that I had said no to
okay.
just to join Razorpay.
Okay. Yeah, for me it was the same. Like there was another offer which was paying a little bit more, and then my friend said that we will stop talking to you if you don't join Razorpay. I was like, fine. But yeah, it was one of the best decisions I personally took, I think. And then
That you took the advice of friend when they said that.
because that I trusted this particular friend because he was analyzing a lot of startups and worked with the VC fund. So yeah, I thought
Ah,
it
makes
was going to be
sense.
good.
That's coming from very great
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
And then what ignited this desire of yours that you wanted to look for opportunities outside of India? What was your thought process during then, and how did you decide that now is the time that I actually want to look for it and make a change, switch?
Honestly, here I was not looking for any of that, right? I mean, of course, I really wanted to work outside India. I had applied back then as well, but with we are not as as skilled as the tech people like you, which is considered very hard skill.
I didn't
Okay.
get a job in Japan, man. I also tried. So okay.
Still, the product managers compared to the developers, so of course, ecosystem is very different, right? It's a very different kind of skill sets that you deal with.
Mhm.
So on that, I was different. I wanted to work abroad. I had, but was not getting any luck. In fact, I will just give, and the fan idea to explore abroad comes from two things. First, I wanted to see how the things work because of my brief stint, not exactly brief stint, my 4 years in a US based company. Then during college, I wanted to get to explore the cities where outside India. I wanted to in terms of internships, but again, I did not get that opportunity.
Mhm.
Again, the CG works there a lot, which
Mhm.
I was not that good to have those into top five for everything.
Mhm.
And so this opportunity just came out of the blue.
Okay, so they approached you.
Yes, the
Mhm.
and a recruiter approached me on LinkedIn
Mhm.
and they wrote the email explaining what my current company PayPay is all about and how are they actually changing the digital ecosystem in Japan, payment system, and what all is that. Then I did the research and I realized, wow. And they also mentioned about because one of the things when it comes about is that, especially in Japan, Japan was not always ever on my radar. Primary reason, the food barrier and the language barrier, right? You would never imagine that I don't know Japanese, so I double confirmed that I don't know Japanese, and they were like, no, it's okay, we will handle it. You know English, that's fine, and we will help you with the all the visa processes and everything, if you are okay with going ahead with this profile.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, let's explore and let's see how it goes. So that's how this happened. I was not like actively looking out at that point in time.
Mhm. And how was the interview process? How each step proceeded? How much time it took? And how were you preparing for it? Everything about that, please.
So it was not much different than how it is in India or any other organizations, even outside India, I had interviewed with. It's the standard the product management process about the product design questions and the product development and the situational, the behavioral questions around dealing with how the situations are handled and everything like that. And your technical skills, how much you know about the tech that you can actually understand their pain points as well, not
Mhm.
just bring with the customer pain points and just dump them on them, right?
Mhm.
How can you flash these things out? So it was like the same similar kind of a process. And I think the process took about 1.5 months or so,
Mhm.
very quick. And for the interviews here, they would always give me like the slots which were open around these dates, and I would have to pick the slots, India or Japan time, whichever worked, whatever the best
Yeah.
available times were.
Mhm.
And each round was again around an hour long max, and yeah, within couple of days you will hear back if you have qualified for the next round or not. So
And
standard process.
how many rounds were there in total?
So for me, it took 3 rounds back
Mhm.
then. But eventually, of course, with the influx of so many candidates and everything, we and sometimes 3 rounds are not even sufficient, so we standardize it to generally 4 5 rounds as well. So it
Okay.
can go from 3 to 5 or any 6 rounds depending on the candidate skills, experience and everything.
Okay. Nice. And you're saying that after 1.5 months, you had the offer.
Yeah, I pretty much about it. 1.5 months or so it took, and
Yeah.
for they to get back to me and tell that, okay, you're coming to Japan, would you like to come?
Yes. Nice. And then, okay, you got the offer, you resigned from Razorpay, and now, how long was the visa process? How tedious was it? How smooth was it? The
It
move.
was very smooth because again there was a third party that was aligned to help out the people with the visa processes. So they were always reaching out to me on timely basis. This what we need. This what we need. In fact, um, the the current organization PayPay, they also offered me to start working from India. And
Okay.
once the visa process goes by, I could actually move to Tokyo and start working here. But I was like that, if what if I actually take a break? And because I had been working for like almost uh, 6 years then continuously. So I
Mm.
thought that maybe this time I don't know how the things would evolve next then and all this visa process. So I said that would it be okay if I take like that break in between my entire visa process and everything happens and I directly joined in Japan. So they were like, yeah, that works with us if that's not a problem for you. So I said, then great, thank you so much. So that's where I took a 3 months break in between. And yeah, in between, after like a six and half years of continuously working, I thought that this is the time I need. And that's where I planned, in fact, my first international trip to Singapore with my closest of the friends.
Okay, nice. I guess yeah, this was around the time when we connected. I was already just came here, and then you told me that this is your opportunity. Wow, the boy's going to Japan. Yeah.
Yes, so November I took my started my first international trip Singapore, and yeah, from October onwards I was in the chill mode. September I had resigned.
Okay.
So yeah, I think my last day was on my birthday itself.
Okay.
So I
Uh,
had then yeah,
so you joined PayPay in January 2023.
January 2023. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And okay, now you moved to Japan. Uh, Everything changed. Did you know any friends already living in Japan, or was it a completely new
A
path?
completely new place, a completely new journey, because I honestly I had no connections here in Japan. I mean, through like third person, or like I connected with a few people just to understand the market, the work culture, about the company, about Japan, and even the comp structures, right? Because honestly, with you don't know if what the salary is actually would be something that works with your
Yeah.
goals and all that, right? Because it's an entirely new country, how the expenses work, how the lifestyle work, you don't know. So I connected with them, but most of them have actually left Japan. So they were just giving me all those information that okay, this is good and all. But in terms of knowing, it was no one. I started, and it was like making entire new life altogether, setting up all everything.
Mm-hmm. And how easy was for you to okay, set up everything? For example, find out good accommodation, and sort everything out. And we did not know how to cook either. And then, oh my God, are you? Do you eat non-vegetarian food?
Yes,
Or,
I do.
you do. So a bit more options are there. But yeah,
Yes.
Japan's food palette is very different from what we have already. So yeah, how did you set up? Like, did the company give you some assistance in finding accommodation in the beginning? Everything about that.
Yeah, so for first 45 days, we had a company provided stay.
Mhm.
And during those 45 days, we had to find our new accommodation. They had also aligned a third party real estate agent who you can get in touch with, and they would understand the requirements and all. But again, those discussions have to be carried out based on your knowledge about Japan, because here you would have to, first of all, the shock that comes is about the size of the apartment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Coming from India, where like you are living in such big homes and all that thing, every room has washrooms and everything like that.
yeah.
Japan is entirely different, right?
Mm.
So, and Tokyo is one of the most expensive places as well. So, if you try to go for an apartment and if you give requirements like India, the person would be in shock. They would say, "Sir, this would cost you like this much." And I was like, "What?" Yeah, you would have to tone down things. So then you start being realistic and looking into the details on the internet. What would be a good sized apartment? What are the areas? And the connectivity, how far you want to live from the place, right? So I realized that of course I'm staying all by myself, I don't have any friends. So, and in the start I would want to visit office more frequently, let's say 2 times a week, because that's one of my touch points to actually come in, interact with people, know about things and learn fast, etc., right?
Mm.
So, and of course, I want to hang out as well on weekends, right? Go to the places, explore. So everything had to be balanced out. So that's where I researched, found the areas, then informed the agent.
Mhm.
That's how it began. But that doesn't end here. Again, in India, we are like, okay, we want to find the apartment. Then you want a fully furnished apartment or something. You have bed, AC, everything in place. I'm not sure about how the scenes are in Germany, but in Japan, mostly you get an empty apartment, like a completely empty apartment. So you would have to set up everything off by own, even the connections, the electrical connections, the contracts, the water contracts, everything. You would have to call them up because it will be your under your name. They would create it and everything.
Do they speak English?
No.
Oh, then yeah, it
So,
becomes very tough.
so yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm asking. I'm not sure about Germany because I think Germany is also very heavy on
Similar,
Germans.
similar problem. Yeah, a lot of people in the customer care would not speak English, and then you're like, and also you do not have friends who would sit with you for if you have a problem for like 30 minutes. No, 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 this is not what I mean. So it's a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. So that was there, but of course, the third-party agents, which I said, so they were helpful in setting that up. And in some cases, because I used to go to office, so I would just request someone of my teammates who know Japanese. I would like that. Can you please at least ask them if they have an interpreter? I don't know what to say without asking about an interpreter as well. So yeah, those were the standard new things, and but yes, of course. So after 2 months' time, it was all set up.
Okay. And how was the feeling? Like, it's a big difference. Like, you come from India and now you're going to be living in this place, not just visiting. How was the feeling? Like, for me, after coming to Europe, it's like, Europe aage! Like, that excitement is there. So, how was it for you?
Honestly, I very clearly remember the first moment in the morning when I woke up from my flight at 6 a.m. and,
Hmm.
boarded at the Haneda airport, which is one of the airports in Tokyo.
Hmm.
And the car, I stepped out and right of the airport. I could see Fuji right from there, the view of the Fuji
Ah.
mountain, which I have always seen in just photos and everything. And I was like, this is I'm seeing with my like own eyes in present and how the things are in Tokyo and Japan. So sometimes I still, when I think about it, I still can't believe that I'm, coming and I'm staying in Japan, exploring all the things, doing so many things, which I have never imagined, right? That
Hmm.
I'll be doing so many things. I'm cooking by myself. So it was an altogether different experience, and actually going through the experiences which you read all over the internet. Like, people of Japan are so polite, they would help you out to navigate the way by taking a detour from their course, right? And things, if they drop by in Japan, nobody picks up, you're not gonna lose. So either somebody would pick it up and hand it over to a police station, or it will be in the same restaurant you go, or you will find the same thing at the exact same place where you dropped it. It has happened to me. So everything, all those experiences, it was like, wow, everything that is said about Japan is true in the world.
So, Japan is a place of culture.
It is a place of
Honest.
culture.
Nice. And that means there would be very less crime and the safety levels would be very high in Tokyo as well, is it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, everybody, in fact, I have come across from different nations, the people around different nations as well. They always say that Japan is so safe that, of course, I mean, nothing is zero, absolute zero. There
Mhm.
would be some sort of a crime rate, but what's the average of the world? Japan offers, I think, lesser than that.
Hmm.
That's
Because yeah,
so.
I've also heard about it, that Tokyo is very safe. A person went there. So, yeah.
Everything is very safe, cameras all around, and people would not even like, most of the people know, they don't just the things that you hear about the pickpocketing in Paris and all those scams. Haven't heard about anything like that ever in Tokyo so far, or even
Mhm.
from the people who have been here for like 6 years, 8 years, 10 years.
Yeah. And how was your work there? Like, the work culture would be very different in office, how people think, react, work. So, how was the work life now?
Well, honestly, in terms of the work culture, because PayPay is a very new age company, right? They're changing the how the digital payment ecosystem changes here. So it's a very new age company, unlike the Japanese companies that we hear about, right? In terms of the work culture, it's pretty much the same as I had experienced in India. Flexible working hours and no special dress codes, right? You can come, work at your flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
talk around, and there are so many. That's why I think it's one of the most loved by the foreigners as well, because we have people across 40 nations of the world.
Okay.
That
Mm-hmm.
is the case. But yes, in terms of a couple of things which I really saw different is the pace of work, right? In India, at times we deliver so many things very fast, right?
Yeah.
And at times we won't even require Jira tickets to go by and like just standard, just go ahead, this, deliver, done.
Yeah. Yeah.
That does not happen here,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there has to be a proper processes that are need to be followed, which actually are good as well at times, because you can save people from getting production issues,
Yeah.
right? You can actually get people saved from working on weekends that something has gone blown out. फट गया है
Uh,
भाई जरूरत
yeah.
है.
Yeah.
All those kind of things don't happen, so those act like a guardrails. So a lot of processes are there. And second is the depth of work, right? So in agile, of course, most of the time in India as well, we would see, okay, what is the user base? This does not, if there's an issue a little bit, okay, this doesn't concern so many people, it's an issue, we can fix it later. That's fine. That does not happen here, right? You try to deliver the best of the things, even if it's a small issue or something of a concern for the user, or could be a concern for the user. That
Mm-hmm.
thing is not going into production, dude. You need to work on those things, smallest of the details. So that's where I felt that looking into the offline segment of Japan, how they have developed their systems in terms of the vending machines or the serving things, right? They have taken care, they are the OGs of product management. Like, for instance, if it's raining outside, you will be carrying an umbrella. So if you will step into a supermarket or a clothing store, then you will make a mess with the water puddle, right? With the umbrellas, because you will be okay.
Taking water
They
there.
have they have a special like I would call it an offline machine itself, right?
Mhm.
So you put your umbrella in that vertically and pull it out towards you. It will get wrapped in a plastic.
Nice.
So now when you step into the store, it's clean. The umbrella would not drop the water outside. So all the water droplets would get collected in that plastic that is wrapped around it. And then
Mhm.
while going out, you can throw it away.
Nice. Yeah, Japanese engineering is famous. Like if even if when we used to talk about cars, these are the engines which go very long way, and they would give you very minimal features, but they work. They work for years. So that's nice.
Exactly. I mean, the entire automobile industry has been revolutionized by Toyota. Like the Toyota Way is a book if you get a read, because we have read about it in our mechanical engineering. So all
Mhm.
the production line systems, the way an assembly line works for any automobile engineering and all those systems, the Kanban, the Muda, Mori,
Mhm.
everything comes from the Toyota Way.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's the Japanese design system for the production, and that's admirable, of course.
nice. You're pulling me into it that I also want to experience how it is to live and work in Japan. So as
I'm
I
telling you, you have the leverage, dude. You have the best of the things. Come to Japan, and so people who have interacted a lot, they come here for short term. They said that they are traveling and all. They were like, we don't want to go back to our country.
Okay, so there is order there as well. Like systems are very well defined in all aspects of life there.
In all aspects of life. Sometimes it gets too much. You get frustrated. Why?
Yeah.
Why? But okay, that it works for the Japanese systems, so they have defined it, right? Everything has a process, everything has a place, everything is designed. Even let's say, of course, we don't like I on my day-to-day basis I don't have to get into those details, but for Japanese customers or the people who are into customer relations, they always have like the if you read about it, the bowing mechanism as well to greet someone for 30 degrees, 45 degrees, or this much degrees. It's always for a customer you have to bend this much, for a friend or casual you have to bend this much. So it's a well
It-
defined designated society.
It's
And
like Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
It's a self-disciplined, self-civilized society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were saying something, it's like
I was just making a silly joke. Like in our sometimes when it's a very old person, you go all the way to touch the feet, and sometimes you're like like that.
exactly, exactly. I mean, yeah, but
Yeah.
for them, it's so every system, everything is very well defined.
And how is the career path there? For example, what I'm trying to ask is in India, salaries grow a lot when you are switching levels. It's not the same in Germany. So, how is Japanese society in that sense? Like, do you have very big jumps or only incremental changes? How's the industry there?
Very marginal because I think it's the same career aspect when it comes to the comms in all the developed nations where there are not much inflation. And so the hikes that we see in India about, whoa, 50% jump, 30% jump, that
Mm-hmm.
does
Okay.
not happen. Generally, I mean, maybe one in a million scenario if something happens like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
not the
you
case.
And
And
usually they, sorry to interrupt. I mean, they plateau as well. After a certain position, you are getting more responsibilities, but in the same organization as well, there are not big jumps as we sometimes observe in India.
that's true. That's true. That's always the case as well. And one of the things that I've heard is in terms of the Japanese work culture is the loyalty. The
Mm-hmm.
number of years that you are in the same company, you are rewarded a lot because it's like a loyalty that you have put faith in us and you have been working with us and giving us too much. So that loyalty is definitely rewarded in terms of that. But the jumps are not like as crazy as in India.
Okay.
I think that explains from the perspective as well. Like, I think since the last 40 years, Japan hasn't seen inflation or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's where all the things also come by. Japan has seen inflation like never, like people don't know about what that term is.
Okay. Okay. And if we talk in terms of finances, how much is the average cost of living? Like not someone who would be living so lavishly or so like saving up so much. An average cost of living in Tokyo, average size of apartment, and average salary, not just high corporate salaries. How is it there?
So honestly, on an average in an IT industry, I would say, in a city like Tokyo,
Hmm.
the averages around 7 to 8 million are considered pretty good. I'm talking in yens.
How much would that be in US dollars?
Let me just do a conversion, quick conversion. I think it's 1 yen is 150, I guess, for easy aspects.
Okay.
So let me see. It turns out around 50,000 USD,
Okay.
right?
And
Which is, I think, the starting point of US regulatory aspects from salary perspective.
Mhm.
50,000, I think, is their lowest of the benchmark.
Okay.
But in Japan, it is a pretty good salary. I mean, again, Tokyo is an expensive city. If you move to a different aspects, like something like my company allows, PayPay allows, you can work from anywhere in Japan. So you
Mhm.
get to explore Japan as well if you want. Work from anywhere in Japan, be a nomad. Nobody is gonna problem with that, right? So you can live in the cheaper sides of the cities as well. You can live in Osaka or Okinawa, Fukuoka, all those places as well. So
Okay.
this is considered good salary. And in terms of the living expenses, mm, I would say an apartment size of, like, it depends again, very preferential. Like I wanted some big apartments, right? So that's a different story. But people generally find a 40-meter square apartment pretty decent, like 35 to 40 meters a square apartment, which is like a one studio,
Okay.
pretty decent. And if you live around central Tokyo, I think it, so I, on an average, I feel that 100 to around 200,000 yen should be enough for you to live on the monthly sides in terms of that. So 200,000 yen.
1,400 US dollars.
So yeah, 2,000 US dollars you can take, give or take. This is I'm talking about in your necessary aspects, the expenses, the groceries, the living,
Mm.
and all that. Because how much you party, how much you spend, that's always secondary.
Yeah, but basic stuff all is covered in, let's say, 2000.
2000 USD would be sufficient. The electricity, water, gas, and your apartment cost and groceries. Yeah.
And how is the tax there?
Tax slabs are, again, depends on which bracket you are. It's definitely more than India.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, and what are the highest tax slabs?
I haven't checked that honestly, so I don't have a clue.
Okay.
Because it depends on the band you operate.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I was just trying to compare it with Germany, Europe. It's uh, I can say that half of the salary is gone in taxes, if including all the insurances I have. So half of that is washed away.
I think not half, but yeah, I think here as well, I think 40% would go in your insurances and basic necessities. And then, of course, when you live here long term, so after second year, you have to pay a residence tax as well, which is basically you are wherever, whichever municipality ward you are staying in,
Okay.
you can decide and you can pay them a particular amount from your salary so that all the development of that ward can happen and everything like that.
Okay. Interesting.
And because Japan is very prone to disasters, so they have to keep some things very updated as well and maintain things as well. So all
Mm,
those things come into play.
got it. And how has your social life and hobbies been out of work in Japan?
So I definitely Japan, when you live by yourself and when you don't have any friends, you are trying to make new friends and all, you get a lot of time for yourself, right?
Mhm.
And it definitely gives you a lot to improve and actually pursue your hobbies. What you things that you have left behind, too much me time and you don't socialize too much, so you can actually devote to it and in fact build connections as well on that. Japan offers a lot of resources, so there are for every ward there will be a sports center, and you can go, you can find like-minded people in your organization as well. And when you go into those sports centers, they are well equipped, like for everything. Like for the one that I have near in my home, they
Mhm.
have swimming, they have basketball, badminton, table tennis, gym, and everything like that. And if you have other interests, like because people like I know a few people who took up self defense because they are in the land of self defense, right? Martial arts in Japan, right? So they took those, they came across that some people wanted to get into boxing, so they took up the boxing, or they have the boxing in the dark, which is like loud music is played, an instructor tells you, and you have to punch the sandbags. So people connect over that. So definitely it gives you a ample amount of time. And when you see people around you doing so many things, let's say when you even in office you interact, oh, what's your plan for the weekend? If it's winters, people will be going for skiing, will be going for snowboarding. If it's summer, they'll say that I'm going to the beach, right? Or we are going camping. So that way you get to realize that, oh wow, these kind of things exist, this is how it's done. And people spend a lot of time there with their families, they go out to watch a baseball match, and even I see kids playing around in the parks. So they do it very diligently. It's not like you're wearing the same shoes for going out, you're wearing the same shoes for playing baseball, you're wearing the same shoes for playing football. Nothing like that. If somebody is going into, it's like getting into that discipline, that
Mhm.
okay, if you're going out to play baseball, take a baseball bat, get a proper gear, start getting indulged so that you start liking it as a proper hobby. So those kind of things, kind of when you see around you the culture and you ask people, that gets motivated. So because of that, I have tried like skiing here. I realized that okay, this is not something I would like, but I tried it. I
Mhm.
explored it because people were around. They taught me this is how it is done. They took me there, so that is there. And yeah, cooking I always wanted to do in India, never did it. Here it is an so yes, I started learning, going browsing through the YouTube for recipes, and of
And
course.
putting your mother on video call, how much to put now? I Yeah, it was a journey for me. How is it about the cultural difference? For example, in Germany, I can say that because we come from a very different place, different culture, it's not so easy to make friends here. And Germans are very close in general. It's not so easy to, at this age specifically, working here most of the times, work from home, make friends. So is it same in Japan, or are they very welcoming? Like being respectful is one thing, and being gelling together, spending time hanging together is a different thing. So how is that with Japanese people?
It is pretty much the same, honestly. They are also Japan is also a very introvert society, and
Okay.
even if you know the language, let's say depends on what kind of platform you have connected to them. Let's say if you have connected through them as a colleague or something, they would know the boundaries and they would not, cross those boundaries. It because you at the end you are still at the end of the day you're still a colleague. Of course, I have a few wonderful colleagues as well. You can talk about anything and all, but yes, there are always some sort of friction that's not easy to cross the barrier.
Mhm.
So they will always be welcoming, helpful, and all, but takes a while to actually
Yeah.
make like Japanese friends.
Yeah. So it's a bit different in warmer countries, or let's say from India. For example, if I'm coming to Japan, I'm telling you, bro, are you there? I'm staying at your place. You cannot do the same with these people.
Precisely. I mean, even without that, like say if you want to set up a plan for me, I would just call you up, dude. I am around, and are you free? Let's
Ah,
just hang out. Let's just meet for a couple of drinks. Won't be the case. You would need to set up a plan in advance because they are so systematic. They have certain plans. So if I have a few friends, I would have to ask them 2 weeks in advance that are you free that time. Only for those I have to plan. Otherwise, most of the time because I'm not used to so much planning when making casual hangouts or meetups, right?
yeah, yeah. It's a lot of similarity between Germans and Japanese. Like everything is in order, love engineering, and then are very systematic about it and introverted too. So I can relate.
Interesting.
Yeah. Cool. It has been a very enriching talk. I personally didn't know most of the things. I would say 90% of the things we always decide on connecting, but it always gets skipped. Finally, we were able to connect.
7 hours of time zone difference. You are traveling. Sometimes I am traveling.
Yeah. What would be your advice to the people who would want to be okay? Let's do this thing because it might disconnect in between. I'll share another
Maybe maybe you should start using this break time as sponsor ad for this.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, sharing the next. Overrunning our scheduled time by 30 minutes and more. To your recording. Uh, all right. What advice would you want to give to the people who are currently living in India, would be having varying years of experience, various backgrounds, but specifically talking about product manager of looking for jobs outside India, whether they should be thinking about moving out of India, exploring, and or what options and what advice in a nutshell would you want to give to the people watching this video?
Well, honestly, I would say that definitely they should because it's going to enrich their personality and grow their personality multifolds. They will have a lot of experiences because I would say being independent is not equal to just earning money. You need to actually be taking care of yourself, right? And that is something I feel most of the people in India, even like including me back then, so haven't experienced it. I would now call myself that yes, I can be truly independent. I can live on my own. I can cook for myself. I can manage groceries. I can do every other fucking thing that
Mm,
is there.
yeah.
Right. So that's what being truly independent is all about. It's not just about that you have started earning money. So I would always tell them that even if in India, let's say if you don't want to move out, then try to live by yourself and live by yourself, do things by yourself, at least start cooking once or twice a week, right? To learn things and get a hold of it. So four things for people I feel are the must-haves in life for everyone. Driving, cooking, self-defense, and swimming. You should know all, every person should know all these things. So
Motivachi. Yeah, exactly on point.
ev- everybody, so that's where you grow in your personality. And when you come across different cultures, when you travel around, right, when you move out, you come across people of different cultures, different nationalities. You get to learn a lot. And honestly, um, I would say, I'm not saying that I didn't like India, but I have started appreciating India more after I have moved out of India, because of not just the way the things are done, but in terms of a lot of things India has surpassed in terms of their financial ecosystem, in terms of a lot of privileges that we have in India, right? So
Yeah,
those are something to be a lot appreciated.
yeah,
And
beautifully
the
put.
culture, the food variety, everything, right?
Right. I mean, it's a unanimous opinion. I am ready to stand by it that Indian food is the best food on the planet, hands down.
The variety that it comes across, and a lot of people just don't know. So when I come across, people just say, oh, you must be eating curry and just the breads. I'm like, no, that's just one aspect and one part where it is eaten. But India, every part you go, in fact, with each state, there is a unique dish that you would try. And it's not just one, but still there are at least one dish that you'll get to try. And it's very different. So India is a land of culture, multitudes of culture, multitude of religions, multitude of languages, and multitude of foods. It's not just that US, oh, it's just burger and steak and all. Japan is ramen and sushi and just like that. You get the same things would have different flavors in India in different places.
True, true.
So nothing beats that.
Yeah. I guess like I have a lot of more questions in head for which we would have to go for part two of this episode. And yeah, I want to really thank you for making out time. We have been actually thinking about this for maybe 2 months now. When could we do this? And finally we were able to. And it's like very late in night for you on Sunday. So thanks
Not
a lot.
really. Right now it's 9:30, but yeah, it's okay. But the dreading idea of that tomorrow is Monday. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, do pay me a visit and I can show you around Europe and yeah, I just wish I visit Japan soon. So,
you should definitely visit Japan because it's first of all, you have the luxury to work from here. I don't have that. And secondly, the winters are not as harsh as Europe.
okay.
So that is the case. I mean, I would have planned to come in December, but then it's like, oh, -30, -40. No, no, not happening.
Yeah, I guess -20 in Norway. In here, Frankfurt is -8 maximum, which I've seen, which is okay. I mean, if you're dressed well, it's all
Yeah, I
right.
mean that's for sure. But again, for winters, you have to carry a lot of luggage and too
Yeah,
much
yeah,
to
yeah.
handle. But yeah, I do want to definitely come to Europe and visit a lot of places. Definitely one trip won't suffice for Europe.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so hoping to see you soon again in person and have a great week ahead. Have a great time. And for having dating advice, I'll take it offline.
Some things have to be discussed offline.
Yeah, thank
But
you.
thank you so much for having me here. It was wonderful seeing you and giving me actually a look back in my past, how I'm actually come through my journey. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
having me and considering me the worthy for this podcast.
cheers and love from Frankfurt. Yeah, have a great time.
Absolutely.
Thanks
All
again.
right.
Bye.
Thanks, Abhinav. Bye bye.